So I would like, before inviting Professor Fanaki, I would comment on two things. The link is the same for the rest of the day. One, the second thing is that the recording of Professor Jean-Noël Balliot is have been shared in the chat together with another talk of Professor Rima Malik that sent a video track. We will try to share it with you, but with Teams, we have a small problem with the license where we cannot include the system audio for a reason, at least for the account we are using. So if we cannot make it later on in the coming session, so at least you have the recording. Thank you for this excellent first session, and we have a second excellent session, I'm sure. It is my great pleasure to invite Professor Nurhan Fanaki to preside the coming session, which is entitled Instruments Supporting the New Reality. And by instruments, we mean quality, we mean new evaluation instruments, and we also think of new support structures. So I will not, I will leave you with the suspense of listening to our eminent speakers that you will introduce. But allow me to make a very small introduction of Professor Fanaki. Professor Fanaki is a professor at the Alexandria University Faculty of Pharmacy. She is currently the vice president at Paros University of Alexandria. Not only she is an eminent researcher and professor in the field of pharmacy, but she is also someone with a very long and very special experience in quality, something that Professor Zahran stated now, and something that will witness a very big transformation with e-learning. So I invite you, Professor Fanaki, to start your session. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. I welcome you all. Thank you, Professor Ghada, for this introduction. Thank you for the first session. It was great and amazing. As we said, that we are sharing the same situation over the world. So I will present the first speaker, Professor Ali. Professor Ali Hamia. He is a Vice President for Academic Affairs at Art, Science and Technology University in Lebanon, consultant at the Lebanese Parliamentary Information and Communication Committee, and member of the Lebanese National Team for implementing a national strategy for cybersecurity and countering cybercrime. The same, he has a lot of activities in Lebanon, in France, in Britain. So, and he participated in different meetings and seminars, including the quality assurance, the accreditation, the competency-based approach, the key performance indicators in the higher education. So let us welcome Professor Ali Hamia, and the platform is for you, Professor Ali, now. Welcome in our conference. Professor Ali?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Okay. Hi. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for the invitation, but I'm wondering, did you see my screen or not?
Yes, we see, but please put it as for showing.
Okay, like
showing.
this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
For your...
Okay, thank you for your invitation. Thank you, Dr. Ghada Al-Khayyat. So, as you know, in light of the increasing global trends towards the distance learning, it has become necessary to identify its requirements, whether in terms of the curriculum, mechanism that should be utilized for conducting and controlling examinations, in addition to providing the necessary means of communication, electronics, infrastructure, internet, and so on. So based on that, in my presentation, I will tackle with some objectives and the benefits of distance learning and the concept and component of quality in distance learning. So as for the objective, we know all that the online education learning is so important for the time being. So in my intervention, I aim to shed light on the quality standards that should be followed for the implementation of outstanding level distance learning programs in an attempt to adopt best practices that are applied in some of the leading countries in the area of distance learning. Leading maybe one day I will repeat it for 3 times to a unified Arab framework project for quality assurance standards in all Arabic higher education institutions that offer the distance learning programs. As this intervention also, I will mention some basic practical procedures to ensure the quality of distance learning, and it's also in brief information about the proper utilization of distance learning technologies, especially in times of crisis. So as for the benefits of distance learning, several practical experiences and practices have proven that distance learning can provide good learning at all educational levels, from schools to higher education institutions, and even from decade for the continuing education. It's also a practical solution for societies that do not possess the main requirements for learning in classrooms and lecture halls, let's say for rural areas or poor societies. In addition, it helps also the educational institution to continue instruction in crisis time, whether resulting from wars, from pandemics, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Several countries faced during COVID-19 certain challenges. So it's up to each country. So when we are talking about Lebanon, Middle East, Egypt, Gulf, Europe, America, so it depends. In implementing distance learning with different intensities, one country and another, according mainly to the technical and scientific capabilities and resources of each country. So we have not to forget the technical part and the infrastructure of each country. Examples of these challenges are the weak qualifications of teachers. I'm not talking about their scientific qualifications. I'm talking about their qualification regarding using the learning management system or any educational online platform. The limitation of the technology option in the education system. Problems in internet. In Lebanon, we are facing many problems in internet and electricity. Not even the level of the instructors is the course is available or not. So we are facing a big problem with electricity and internet and the necessary maintenance they require, the unavailability of modern computer and so on. Even that, despite these challenges and obstacles, distance learning for the time being, with its various styles spread in many countries, it became popular among various categories and members in the societies. So, why it spread worldwide? So people before March 2020, so they don't accept that. But after March 2020, people started to accept from the parents, the students. Okay, So for the time being, now people started to accept this type of learning for several reasons. So I list here some reasons, the most important which are it's convenient and flexible in terms of study, time, and locations, and ability to reach a large number of geographically dispersed students, speed and flexibility, lesser financial costs. Even at the educational institution, they don't have an operational cost like the electricity, like the gas, like the parking, like I don't know, the public transportation, to rent an apartment for the students, and so on. High quality, richness, and diversity of distance learning materials. So I think by adopting that type of learning, we can achieve the principle of globalization in offering distance education programs and avoiding indoctrination and developing the student self-learning skills, the teacher's roles as mentor, and so on, and provide an appropriate solution of the problem of education in crisis time and solving the problem of scarcity of teachers in some disciplines. And we know all that we are facing this kind of problems. So now I will talk a little bit about the concept of equality, as we are talking about the quality assurance and so on for the distance learning. I think the concept of equality in education generally falls in 6 main areas. The first one, quality means achieving goals. That is the higher educational institution that attains high quality, one that set specific goals and achieves them perfectly. So we don't need to set 15 specific goals. So it's more than enough for each semester as beginner to set 2 or 3 or 4 specific goals. But the condition is to attain them perfectly. Second point or second axe, quality of inputs and processes. Achieving the educational goals depend on many factors. The most important of which are the quality of the physical and the human inputs used and the method and processes that are utilized to invest these inputs. As for the third axe, criteria-based equality, because you have criteria-based equality and quality-based versus quantity. Criteria-based equality, the notion of equality becomes standardized, and the performance is evaluated between 3 levels worldwide: excellent, good, or bad, accordingly to specific benchmark and indicators. So for the fourth one, quality education is the one that achieves a balance between the type and the quantity. So we don't need to have a lecture online for 2 hours for our students. So we have to work on the to reduce the time of the online courses, of the online material, but with good quality. So we have to play on the quality versus quantity. Technocratic quality also. Applying the educational program as related to the scientific and technical knowledge in order to enable the educational system as the conventional one to meet the technological and economic needs of the society. And last but not least, for the concept, three-sided equality, we all know that kind. So we have to work on the quality of design, quality of performance, and the quality of outputs. So maybe we'll work on our course for the online learning 1 month to be sure that the design and the performance are excellent. But we have to be careful about the outputs also. So quality of outputs, obtaining educational products and services that satisfy the expected characteristics and specification and meet the needs of the labor market. So we have to be careful about the needs of the labor market and our graduate students. So money quality assurance, as we are talking about the quality assurance, and the main purpose of my intervention is the quality assurance. Many quality assurance policies in higher education institutions that offer distance learning are built on several axes. So the most important of which are the design of the educational learning and teaching environment at the institution to ensure that they meet the approved quality standards. The second point, measuring the educational outputs. So we have to measure the educational outputs and comparing them of those of the conventional education. So we have to make some comparison between the educational outputs that we obtained last year and before the last year, and to compare it with the spring semester, spring 2020, and even during this current semester 2020 also. Here, distance learning institution conduct comparative studies between the performance samples of distance learning students and that of a similar sample of students in traditional education. In addition, the institution conducts proficiency exams for selected sample of enrolled and graduate students. Moreover, comparing the success rate of graduates. Why? For distance learning programs and the professional exams. Because as you know, the doctors, engineers, so there is a syndicates for them that are conducted by related stakeholders such as orders and syndicates, trade unions, employer, to the success rate of traditional graduates. So for that strategy, so we can obtain a closed loop of assessment of our online educational learning, not only assessed and evaluated by the higher education, even by all stakeholders. So as you know, the internal self-evaluation, which is the set of internal procedures and the process that the distance learning institution carries out to achieve equality in its programs, and also the external evaluation. It's the same, but by an external body, and the academic and the professional accreditation. So it takes time, I think, by the end of the next year or something like that, and applying procedures for continuous improvement in quality assurance. So at the beginning of the pandemic COVID-19, there was one question at the government level, at the higher education. So do we teach online or face to face? So the answer it's okay now. The answer is so online. So now we have to switch. We have to move to the next stage in order to prepare the procedure of the continuous improvement in the quality assurance from the students and their parents, because now our classes is open. Our classes are open, so they don't need to knock the door and to enter to the class and to assess the instructors and their way and so on. So the classes is even the classes are open for the parents of our students at schools or at the higher education institution. So students and their parents, the students and their parents are satisfied with the course learning programs, and this satisfaction, it should be accompanied by achieving the important and required professional and academic standards for the programs. So continuous improvement that is complemented with the enhancement of various learning, teaching, and technology services. So there is an important question: efficiency and the perfection in educational services, and continuous monitoring by educational institution, higher management that adopt practical measures to ensure the achievement of the institution goals. So now, as for the components, after the concepts, the components, it's not exactly the same. The spirit of the components of distance learning equality is approximately the same as the spirit of the conventional education. So, as for the first acts regarding the design and development of a program, I will not read it in details, so you can take your time. I will send my presentation by email to Dr. Ghada Al-Khatiyat, and then after that you can have a look about it. But briefly, so design and development, you have indicators, and you have a scale, rating scale. Rating, as you know, between 1 and 4, it's weak, 5, 6 average, 7, 8 good, and 9, 10 excellent. So as for the design and development of the program, so we have many indicators, a clarity of educational objectives, clear learning outcome, learning and teaching methods and materials that are used in the instruction of distance learning courses, amount and the percentage of interaction and dialogue, number 4, number 5, to review, develop, and so on. Number 6, ability to produce open content and so on. Number 7, number 8. Number 8, it's so important because regarding the examination, because the examination is now is considered as the question number 1 in Lebanon regarding the examination and the assessment mechanism, and linking them with the required learning outcomes and effective mechanism for monitoring the online exams, applying integrity procedures and preventing cheats. As for the second act, providing adequate technological infrastructures. It's not enough that the higher education institutions, they have their own infrastructure. It's not enough that they have internet with high speed, because at the end, our students is living outside the higher education institution, maybe in a street, maybe in a village, that they don't have internet, that they don't have electricity. So we have to be sure about the availability of a specialized learning center for information technology and so on, efficiency and effectiveness of the technological infrastructure required for the distance learning. It's not enough for us that we have internet at home for 2 megabytes per second. I hear an echo. I think there's so required for the distance learning, and including the availability of proper modern technologies, devices required for the distance learning, providing the necessary maintenance. There is a car with us in the platform. So as indicator, so providing the educational material to the students also regarding the distance learning system guarantees the ultimate protection of the privacy also. As you know now, it's the main question also regarding the cybersecurity and to the privacy of the information of our students. Existence of a specified and clear policies and methods with the clear responsibility to ensure the quality of method and so on to offer distance learning. Good and effective management of the communication means used to offer the study materials and ensuring that they are easily used by students and teachers. It's not enough to prepare the materials. The main objective of the higher education institution to make sure that our students and our teachers, they are easily they have the related mean in order to be achieved, in order to achieve or to have a connection to our material and so on. So student services and support. So I will skip just regarding, let's say, number three. The services provided to the students. Now, all guidelines, all students' catalog at the universities is prepared for the conventional education. So it's time to start to prepare a new guideline, a new student catalog regarding the online educational programs. So let's take an example about the absence. So there is a big difference between the conventional learning programs and the online educational learning programs. About the dropout policies. So there is a lot of questions. It should be for the future a questionable about the higher educational institutions. So also number 4, we have to provide the training for our students. We have to provide continuous evaluation of the services also. Faculty members. So ability to utilize distance learning strategies. Their familiarity with various educational methods and digital tools. Their expertise in delivering various educational materials, interacting with students, sufficient and continuous training, and average result of the performance evaluation regarding the faculty members. Last but not least, regarding this component, the effectiveness of the learning and teaching processes. So maybe we can ask a question: average student satisfaction with the distance learning program as measured by the student surveys and the questionnaire, and also average number and percentage of passing students, to make a comparison between the conventional learning programs and the online educational learning programs. And you have so many points regarding this component, which is the effectiveness of the learning and teaching processes. So I think, and this also number 7, maybe existence of specified and clear policies and methods with declared responsibility to ensure the quality of methods to offer distance learning and so on. You have 7, 8, and 9. So I think in order to be on time, so I finish my presentation with respecting the time. It's okay?
Thank you, Professor Ali. Thank you for your contribution here and your presentation. And now we have to present our next presenter, Professor Franz Berchev, ingénieur de recherche expert, psychologique clinicienne, chef de projet en ingénierie, de formation, ingénierie, compétences, accompagnement et reprise d'études, coordinatrice du pôle reprise d'études et validation des acquis de l'expérience à l'Université Sorbonne, Université Formation depuis 1995, membre de la commission recherche de Sorbonne Université. Elle intervient depuis 1990 en tant que formatrice spécialisée en veille, parcours professionnel et technique de recherche d'emploi. Elle a beaucoup d'activités. Elle est maintenant vice-présidente depuis 1992 et cofondatrice de SIDA Information Service. Elle est volontaire depuis 1987 à AIDS, Île-de-France, dont elle fut également la présidente et vice-présidente. Welcome, Professor Franz. Bonjour, and please put it as a show. The presentation, put it as a show.
Est-ce que vous voyez ma présentation?
Oui. La présentation est claire, mais oui. Thank you. The platform with you, Professor France.
Bonjour, je m'excuse, je ferai ma présentation en français. Et je voulais remercier le président de l'Université d'Alexandrie, le président de l'Association des recteurs des universités du Moyen-Orient, la professeure Rada El-Kayat, mon amie Rada El-Kayat, chers collègues et mesdames et messieurs qui participent. J'ai eu beaucoup de plaisir à participer à la première édition d'Apitel et je vous remercie de m'avoir convié à intervenir dans cette deuxième session. Si j'ai accepté de participer, c'est non seulement pour avoir le plaisir de rencontrer à distance mes collègues de l'Université d'Alexandrie, des universités du Moyen-Orient, notamment mes collègues libanais, mais c'est aussi pour l'intérêt de la question posée par le thème de ce colloque, qui est le changement de paradigme dans l'enseignement supérieur en réponse à la pandémie du Covid-2019. Donc, ma présentation se fera en 4 points, après une introduction où j'évoquerai de la question du paradigme dont nous parlons. Je ferai un focus sur l'approche par compétences comme innovation pédagogique. Je questionnerai l'enseignement à distance qui permet d'appréhender l'outil et son usage pour faire évoluer sa pratique pédagogique. Et je conclurai par un focus sur les portfolios. Alors, il me semble que le changement de paradigme lié à la mise en œuvre de l'enseignement en ligne en réponse à la pandémie du Covid-19 ne date pas de la pandémie et n'est pas simplement lié à l'enseignement en ligne. La pandémie a fait que ce que les lois et les projets de développement n'arrivaient pas à faire suffisamment, c'est-à-dire à accélérer la mise en mouvement pour mettre en œuvre significativement ce changement de paradigme. Mais de quel changement de paradigme parle-t-on? Nous sommes dans une période de grande transformation. Qu'il s'agisse des mutations numériques et technologiques, des changements sociétés liés aux exigences de performance, de rapidité, d'adaptabilité, de flexibilisation du travail dans un contexte de mondialisation. Et actuellement, il y a la pandémie Covid-19. Dans le même temps, dans l'enseignement supérieur, les effectifs augmentent et sont de plus en plus hétérogènes. L'enseignement supérieur doit contribuer au développement de la société de la connaissance et pour cela, il doit veiller au développement de l'employabilité des étudiants et à leur mobilité à l'international. Il doit être capable d'attester du niveau de maîtrise des attendus à la fin de chaque cycle universitaire et il doit aussi contribuer au développement de la formation tout au long de la vie. Pour répondre à ces enjeux, une évolution des pratiques pédagogiques est nécessaire. Ces pratiques pédagogiques doivent être mises en œuvre par des équipes pédagogiques qui interagissent avec le monde professionnel et qui doivent être centrées sur les étudiants pour leur permettre de construire leur projet professionnel et de se professionnaliser progressivement. C'est, de notre point de vue, cette évolution des pratiques pédagogiques qui représente un changement de paradigme, en tout cas dans le contexte français et européen. Ce changement de paradigme peut être illustré par l'approche par compétences telle qu'elle a été introduite par Jacques Tardif de l'Université de Sherbrooke, Marianne Poumet et François Georges du Lab7 de l'Université de Liège. L'approche par compétences nécessite, comme le souligne Marianne Poumet, de nouveaux outils, dont le portfolio, une nouvelle culture de l'apprentissage et une révision de la posture étudiante tout autant que de la posture enseignante pour accompagner et évaluer le développement de la compétence. L'enseignement à distance peut initier ou accélérer ou encore modéliser un questionnement sur les pratiques pédagogiques dans l'enseignement supérieur. Alors, l'approche par compétences est, de notre point de vue, une innovation pédagogique. En France, dans la continuité du traité de Bologne, pour soutenir la mise en œuvre de ce changement de paradigme pédagogique, des textes de loi et des projets de transformation pédagogique ont vu le jour en 2018 avec la loi OR et des projets sur les nouveaux cursus universitaires. Il reste encore beaucoup de chemin à parcourir, mais le contexte de la crise sanitaire nous a obligés à accélérer ce processus. Et donc c'est pourquoi il me semble que dans le contexte français, le e-learning est un accélérateur de changement de paradigme. Alors, pour revenir à l'approche par compétences, on va s'arrêter un instant sur la définition que nous en propose Jacques Tardif, à savoir un savoir-agir complexe reposant sur la mobilisation et la combinaison efficace d'une variété de ressources internes et externes à l'intérieur d'une famille de situations. Et cette définition nous permet, de notre point de vue, de voir quel est l'intérêt de l'approche par compétences, d'abord pour les enseignants, parce que ça leur permet d'avoir une vision intégrée et partagée de la formation dans laquelle ils interviennent. Ça permet de travailler en équipe, de façon collaborative, notamment en élaborant les référentiels de compétences qui sont la clé de voûte de l'architecture des programmes. Ça permet l'ouverture et le développement de l'interdisciplinarité et ça permet de redonner du sens au contenu des enseignements de manière à ce que l'étudiant puisse les mobiliser dans son contexte académique et professionnel. Enfin, ça favorise la motivation et l'implication des étudiants et ça permet aux enseignants d'élaborer des critères d'activité construits à partir des référentiels qui vont structurer et cadreront l'évaluation. Ces critères vont être transmis aux étudiants et vont leur permettre et vont constituer la trame d'un portfolio. En ce qui concerne les étudiants, l'intérêt de la mise en place d'une approche par compétences sont les suivants. Ça permet de nourrir leur esprit critique, leur réflexivité et de développer leur autonomie. Ça leur permet donc de rester motivés et engagés tout au long de leur parcours. Ils donnent ainsi du sens et font du lien aux différents apprentissages et à leurs expériences professionnelles. Ils peuvent ainsi identifier de manière claire et précise les compétences qu'ils acquièrent au travers de leur formation. Et ils vont ainsi pouvoir mieux envisager et élaborer leurs projets professionnels et ainsi élaborer un portfolio à partir des critères d'activité transmis par les enseignants pour identifier leurs apprentissages et leur progression dans leurs compétences, leur permettant de s'auto-évaluer et d'être évalués. Alors, l'enseignement à distance permet d'appréhender l'outil et son usage pour faire évoluer sa pratique pédagogique. Et c'est bien la question de l'usage de l'outil. L'enseignement à distance numérique a obligé les enseignants à mettre en ligne leurs cours, élargissant une réflexion non seulement sur leur pratique pédagogique, mais aussi sur les usages numériques pouvant étayer leurs objectifs pédagogiques. Alors, j'ai résumé un petit peu 3 façons d'appréhender l'outil technologique pour enseigner en ligne. Il y a un usage instrumental. L'enseignant va utiliser l'outil pour lui-même sans se soucier de ses potentialités. Par exemple, l'enseignant va réaliser son cours avec Zoom, mais sans changer l'organisation de celui-ci et ni réfléchir à la question de l'interaction avec les étudiants. Ou alors, sur Moodle, il va mettre son cours en ligne tel qu'il le délivre, point barre. La deuxième façon est une utilisation technocentrée. C'est-à-dire que l'enseignant a conscience que l'usage de l'outil modifie la relation pédagogique et il réfléchit à comment il peut avoir, grâce à la technique, le même impact que lors de ses cours en présentiel. Par exemple, avec Zoom, l'enseignant va pouvoir proposer des partages d'écran de cours, va proposer des questions par chat et la possibilité de lever la main pour poser des questions. Sur Moodle, il va poster son cours en ligne, réaliser des exercices dans la foulée qui vont être automatiquement corrigés. Ça permettra de vérifier que l'étudiant a pris connaissance du cours et a réalisé les exercices. Ça permet aussi de vérifier le niveau de compréhension du cours. Et la troisième typologie est une utilisation anthropocentrée, c'est-à-dire que l'enseignant va réfléchir aux évolutions qu'il peut apporter à sa pratique pédagogique. Par exemple, l'enseignant va proposer d'interagir en créant des groupes sur Zoom à certains moments pour que les étudiants puissent travailler et interagir ensemble. Il va penser à l'évaluation qu'il proposera et il va donc articuler sa pratique en fonction de la façon dont il a pensé l'évaluation et les objectifs pédagogiques. Alors, bien sûr, ça va impliquer de se sentir à l'aise avec les outils technologiques et d'appréhender un usage ergonomique de ceux-ci. Par exemple, aussi sur Moodle, il va proposer son cours sur différents formats, capsules vidéo, fichiers, audio, où il le pensera soit en synchrone, soit en asynchrone. Il pourra créer des activités complémentaires qui pourront être faites avant ou après le cours. Et il pourra permettre un travail collaboratif avec des outils complémentaires comme Amahara ou encore utiliser la gamification. Donc, un enseignant qui, lui, utilise l'approche par compétences, ne peut avoir qu'une approche anthropocentrique des outils en ligne. Et il va donc choisir ceux dont l'usage favorise la construction de sa progression pédagogique et qui facilitera les apprentissages et le développement des compétences des étudiants. Alors peut-être que finalement cette réflexion sur l'usage des outils numériques peut être pensée comme un changement de paradigme. On va réellement entrer par la démarche pédagogique et par l'usage de l'outil et non pas simplement par l'outil. Alors, quand on parle de portfolio, de quoi parle-t-on? Dans le contexte technologique, pour nous, le e-portfolio est un outil qui va soutenir l'enseignement en ligne, aussi bien pour l'enseignant que pour l'étudiant. Mais qu'est-ce que c'est qu'un portfolio? Alors, les portfolios ont été introduits à partir des années 60 par des chercheurs canadiens qui avaient besoin de penser la professionnalisation, les acquis issus de l'expérience et les compétences. Le livre blanc de la DGZIP, c'est un service du ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur, nous donne cette définition du e-portfolio. C'est un ensemble évolutif de documents et de ressources électroniques capitalisés dans un environnement numérique décrivant et illustrant l'apprentissage des compétences ou le parcours de son auteur à travers différents flux d'informations. Il est multiculturel, transnational et utilisable tout au long de la vie. Alors là, je vous ai mis deux petits modèles de portfolio qui peuvent être proposés par les enseignants. Celui qui est proposé par le Lab 7, dont François Georges et Marianne Poumet, et celui d'une plateforme Karuta qui est développée en France par le ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur. L'ISO, l'International Organization for Standardization, liste quatre portfolios en fonction de leurs usages. Il y a le portfolio d'apprentissage qui vise l'acquisition des connaissances, des savoirs ou des compétences, plutôt dans des parcours de formation formels. Le e-portfolio d'évaluation qui va permettre l'évaluation des connaissances, des savoirs ou des compétences. Le e-portfolio de développement personnel qui va soutenir la construction réflexive de la compétence et qui va être particulièrement intéressant dans des contextes d'éducation informelle ou pour des pratiques de validation des acquis de l'expérience. Et enfin, le portfolio de présentation qui va valoriser, montrer les acquis de la formation, les apprentissages, les compétences et aussi la singularisation du parcours de l'expérience et des réalisations. Et là, toute la créativité de son porteur peut se faire jour. Ça peut se faire sous forme de blog, sous forme de site internet ou sous forme simplement de page internet. Alors, Jacques Tardif nous donne une définition du portfolio. Pour lui, c'est un échantillon de preuves sélectionné par l'étudiant qui va dans l'intention de rendre compte fidèlement de ses apprentissages. Il va donc fournir des données nécessaires, c'est-à-dire celles qui vont montrer son auto-évaluation pour que soit porter un jugement judicieux sur le niveau des compétences concernées, sur le degré de maîtrise des ressources qu'il peut mobiliser et combiner, et ainsi que sur l'étendue des situations dans lesquelles ce niveau de développement et ce degré de maîtrise sont susceptibles de se matérialiser. Alors, dans une démarche d'approche par compétences, dans un enseignement en ligne, le portfolio va permettre d'une part à l'enseignant de définir les composantes essentielles de chacune des compétences, de spécifier les contextes dans lesquels ces compétences sont mises en œuvre, de présenter les différents niveaux de développement dans la compétence et les attendus pour atteindre ce niveau de développement. Il va permettre aussi d'accompagner personnellement ou indirectement en organisant un travail collaboratif entre les étudiants. Donc, il va accompagner ainsi la réflexion de l'étudiant sur ses productions en cours, c'est-à-dire sur le travail qu'il est en train de réaliser, et il va l'accompagner pour analyser les apprentissages et les traces qu'il y a. Il va donc accompagner l'étudiant ainsi dans le développement de la compétence. Et ça va aussi lui permettre d'évaluer la production des étudiants à partir de critères qui auront été extrêmement clairement posés, puisqu'il s'agit des compétences, des activités, des composantes essentielles des compétences et du niveau attendu. Il va donc évaluer les productions pour voir si l'ensemble des compétences qu'il pensait couvrir avec son enseignement sont bien couvertes, pour vérifier que les preuves sont bien en adéquation, les preuves apportées par l'étudiant sont bien en adéquation avec les compétences et que le niveau d'explicitation des compétences sont bien en lien avec le référentiel. Ça permet de déterminer si le travail de l'étudiant est bien pertinent et si les preuves qu'il a apportées sont bien incontestables et que l'étudiant a pu réellement prendre conscience de sa montée en compétences. En ce qui concerne l'étudiant, ça va lui permettre d'identifier d'abord les compétences qu'il mobilise et leur niveau de développement. Ça va lui permettre donc de définir sa progression dans l'apprentissage. Ça va aussi lui permettre, à cause de tout le travail réflexif qu'il y a à faire sur sa progression dans l'apprentissage, ça va lui permettre aussi d'apprendre à apprendre, d'avoir une vision globale de son apprentissage. Il va donc donner du sens, comprendre les modalités et les objectifs d'évaluation, et il va ainsi pouvoir développer sa capacité réflexive et développer une identité professionnelle. Alors, le développement de l'élaboration des e-portfolios, pour conclure, je dirais que l'élaboration des portfolios constitue pour l'enseignement une pratique pédagogique, pour l'étudiant une activité pédagogique, mais que ce soit une pratique pédagogique ou une activité pédagogique, Tous ces deux choses nécessitent un travail collaboratif. D'abord, entre les enseignants. Deuxièmement, entre l'enseignant et l'étudiant et le groupe d'étudiants. Ce travail collaboratif peut être conçu avec les outils technologiques mobilisés pour le e-learning. Il permet la construction socialisée des savoirs et contribue à la construction progressive de l'identité professionnelle. Ces e-portfolios sont portés par des outils technologiques, des plateformes telles que Karuta, Mahara, Adoom, et il y en a d'autres, qui sont donc mobilisables dans une pratique de... Donc, tant sur le plan technologique que sur le plan pédagogique, les portfolios étayent les démarches de transformation et d'innovation portées par l'APC, notamment dans les enseignements en ligne. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Merci, Professor France, for your presentation. Thank you so much for your participation in the conference. And now we have to start the last session. The speech is with Professor Bilal Saeed. Professor Bilal is currently the head of the Lebanese Center for Pedagogical Innovation at the Art, Science and Technology University in Lebanon, as well as a part-time lecturer at the Computer Science Department of the American University of Beirut and the Lebanese University. He has a lot of activity. For example, according to the center, provides the required training and resources to engage with the academic body, faculty members, and students. And Professor Bilal specifically has a lot of experience in formal software engineering. He started his journey in this arena around 15 years ago, and he is still currently teaching and supervising students and pursuing his research activities in it. Welcome, Professor Bilal, and the platform for your excellency. Welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Nurhan. Do you confirm that you hear me and that you see the slides?
Yes, the slide was seen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like first to thank my dear colleague and friend Ghada Khayat for this wonderful opportunity. Not only to share our project on the design and implementation of learning labs in our respective universities, but also to meet all these wonderful people and experts from all around the world talking about this lovely topic of innovation pedagogy, and that we really need at these moments particularly. So I'll leave the slide because I have been already introduced by Mrs. Nurhan. So just you can follow any of my pedagogical resources on my own Moodle or on YouTube. I would like to share the outline first of all. So I will be talking about the learning labs. What can we do in them, and how to establish a learning lab. I will share with you the experience that we already have in the Lebanese, Egyptian, Tunisian, and Swiss learning lab project that has been established last year. And I will share some of the lessons that we have learned so far. So as a motivation, since early this morning, we are all talking about the transformations that we are facing in higher education, and we would like to cope with them, ideally to predict them if possible, to create sometimes this transformation and most importantly, to accompany both students and academic members during these transformations. So we would like to be innovative with the solutions that we can come up with. We want to be flexible enough. We want to collaborate with all the stakeholders. Dr. Hamid talked about the involvement of even the parents of the students. We want to ensure the quality of what we are delivering to our students in this whole process. So this reminds me of what enterprises already well established in their research and development units. So my question is, like, I was wondering, so do we need the same unit in every higher education institution? And maybe this is what we are calling, and what is called in the limited literature that can be found on the topic. This is what is relatively called the learning lab. So there is no single definition of this, but it's a place where ideas emerge with the aim to enhance the pedagogical practices, to integrate educational technology, to innovate, experiment, unleash our imagination and creativity, while being reasonable, measuring things, collecting data, measuring it, evaluating the experience. So the main aim is to enhance and enrich this teaching and learning experience, actually, while involving all the concerned stakeholders. So we want also a place where the students are also represented, and the governance is made sure to be aligned with the plans and implemented strategies. So this is roughly speaking what is a learning lab. It's quite difficult to collect this from the literature, as I told you. So what can we do in the learning labs? So this is just some of the activities that we can animate. So we can propose various collaborative design thinking workshops, to publish online assets revolving around those activities, or podcasts, or animating games where we are actually simulating certain learning scenarios and extracting some lessons from those scenarios. It can be the mere integration of educational technology and digitalization in some of the activities. So, for example, to experiment with the potential of virtual reality and augmented reality in teaching certain subjects. The use or even the creation of certain equipment. So establishing a certain fab lab in one of the corners of the learning lab, this would be a nice idea. We do data collection, and we do this reflection on our practices and paradigms, in the hope that we can debate about them, discuss them, evaluate them, amend some of the good practices, and review the current practices that are not satisfying. How do we plan the establishment of a learning lab? So it's good to have some initial pedagogical projects in mind. Some universities already have their own pedagogical innovation centers, so they can be the main player, the catalyst of such a project. But they have also to involve all the other stakeholders and to co-manage this space together. Of course, I'm talking already about a space, so they have to dedicate a certain floor, a certain room, a certain space for co-working. It should be self-sustained. It should be somehow certified, known by all the academic members and the implied parties, such as the IT department, the representatives from the government, from all the faculties. And you should accompany and train the participants, because maybe they are not expecting what they will be doing within the learning lab, or how to get involved in your pedagogical project. So you should clarify your aims and show them the means to get involved actively. And then you should observe and analyze and reflect on your activities and mutualize those experiences with a larger network, ideally. Something that we have wanted to do with our Let's project. So there are some living examples of those units or learning labs, such as in the US or in all around Europe. There is a strong network, the Learning Lab network, already well established in among French and other universities from Belgium. Instead of talking about their own experiences, you can easily find information about them online. I wanted to talk about our case, the Lebanese, Egyptian, Tunisian, and Swiss Learning Lab Network, a project that is funded by the Leading House for MENA project. So our approach in defining our learning labs and a common network is a design-based research approach in which we are doing some iterative refinement on the idea that we want to implement in our respective learning labs. So from the definition of that we want to adopt for our learning labs to the list of activities that we want to implement. So the idea is to have a practical aspect where we implement somehow common activities, even though we are customizing and tailoring these exercises to our respective contexts, and then to afterwards to conceptualize and evaluate those results so that we can publish and share them with the larger community. So during our workshops, we came up with this definition. So for us, a learning lab is has a 3 dimensions: the space itself, the activities that are run within it, and the community that is actually animating and making this learning lab a living space. So it's for us, it's a physical and digital and a human space for observation, experimentation, and evaluation, for rethinking and enriching the practices and attitudes of learning and teaching in higher education. So it leans somehow in between those definitions that we found in the literature and with what we wanted to do ourselves. So when it comes to the spaces that we have built so far before animating the activities within them, so we wanted an open and welcoming space that attracts the participants. We wanted it to be modulable and practical so that we can turn it into a space to play a certain game, a place where we can share traditional talks, or animate certain exemplary courses, do some fab labs, etc. So we want it to be self-sustainable. So we planned the all the budget aspects and the funding aspects in a way to make it a non-temporary project somehow. So and we wanted the space to trigger those creativity and playfulness in the minds of the participants, so that they when they find some, for example, Lego tiles, they can use them in a certain way to model an existing process or an existing setting, and so that they can easily change them, physically change them, so that they can project their ideas in a more shareable way. We want them to be equipped with all the digital equipments that allow us and the students as well as the teachers to play with them, to adopt them, to propose new ways and new ideas to use them. And we wanted also to trigger collaboration and collective intelligence. So we don't want silos within the space, although it's modulable and practical, but we want this interdisciplinary coherence between the participants. So how this has been implemented effectively in the various institutions. So in Switzerland, they have been planning this unit in Fribourg University. Our partner from that university, the LEAP, Laboratoire d'Innovation Pédagogique. So they have as you see, a modulable space that can facilitate the participation of the various academic members and students in those activities. They have the Fab Lab, they have the equipment that can be used to animate those activities. In Tunisia, you see a rendered plan of the 3D plane of the space, so it's in a good progress, but this is still just a 3D model of the space. So you see how cozy it is, how easy it is to make this space a whole unit, or to cut it into several separate spaces for smaller group work. Although in Alexandria University in Egypt, so there is already a plan for the for the learning lab, and I think my colleague Ghada can make a comment at the end to tell us if they have made a good progress on it meanwhile. And in Lebanon, the space already exists within the Lebanese Center for Pedagogical Innovation. We are working on extending it with other rooms and units and equipping it conveniently so that we can animate other activities. So my focus currently is on building the community that can actually make this project living for the upcoming years, not only for the to cope with the current and emergent transformations that we are having for online and distance learning. So what's next? In our project, we are implementing, as I told you, some common activities, yet they are tailored and customized to our different contexts, such as, for example, some learning gamification scenarios, for example, and we are implementing them in 4 different contexts. We are collecting data and analyzing them according to the same grids of evaluation, in the hope to come up with some remarkable observations that we are planning already to publish and share with the larger community. So already one of the deliverables is the whole process that we went through in order to conceive those places and to determine what are the relevant elements in them. And in summary, I can actually stress the importance of establishing such units, actually, and not only during the emergent transformation needs, but as a sustainable project, long-term project. So I recommend that we establish such units in our respective institutions by dedicating the space for this, by planning the activities, and by building the community for it. And I highly recommend that we get involved with a larger network to share and mutualize those experiences. When you will get the slides from Dr. Ghada, you will have some additional resources and references, but I will try to be as short as possible to help the organizers catch with the delays that they have in the beginning of this day. So thank you again for this opportunity, and let's leave it for the questions for any further details.
Dr. Bilal?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Are you done?
Yes. No
Thank you,
problem. No
Dr.
problem.
Ghada,
Thank
for
you.
opening it.
Thank you, doctor.
And thank you, Professor Bilal. And now we can start the questions. It was there a question from Professor Nariman for Professor Ali. What are the references that she needs? The references of the standards for the learning on distance. Professor Ali? Professor Ali?
Professor Fanaki, I guess Professor Ali had a meeting later on, so maybe we can share, I would share his email over the chat so the colleague can continue to communicate with him. But actually he had to communicate with me to tell me that he is engaged in another meeting. I will share his right away.
Okay. Here, another question. There is from Bermold Hasan. Sorry if I missed it. Bilal, do you have any staff employed to help teachers with the use of the learning lab?
Of course.
Question is from Professor Bernold.
Thank you for this question. So it's we obviously need to have a permanence in the learning lab. As you may have noticed, the participants are imagined to be of different backgrounds, and I think that the animators of the learning lab and the permanence staff should also be from different backgrounds to ensure that we have this rich help when needed. But I think with a little bit of scheduling, so if we have a timetable attached on the door and with multiple contacts on it from different backgrounds, or volunteering to ensure help whenever it's needed from the IT department, from the faculty of pedagogy, from the center itself, the Lebanese Center for Pedagogical Innovation, and from the student body. So I think there is plus technicians for the Fab Lab. So I think there is a way to cover all the needs. Maybe not permanently at all times, especially that we are relatively a small size, like a medium-sized university, but eventually over the week, so we may succeed in having individual or group meetings when needed for these purposes.
Thank you, Professor Bilal. Till now, there is no questions, but I would like to ask Professor France about the 4 e-portfolio. Professor France, you have said that there are 4 e-portfolio. The first one is the learning e-portfolio. This portfolio will be prepared by the teacher, or it will be prepared by the student. Because for the evaluation e-portfolio, I don't some explanation. I want some explanation between the difference between the e-learning portfolio, the portfolio for e-learning, and evaluation e-portfolio, please.
Oui, la différence entre les deux, le portfolio d'apprentissage va permettre à l'étudiant de s'auto-évaluer. Et le portfolio d'évaluation va être ce qui va être utilisé par l'enseignant pour évaluer le travail de l'étudiant. Mais la différence entre le portfolio d'évaluation et le portfolio d'apprentissage est finalement une différence assez formelle. D'autres d'autres auteurs permettent de parler de portfolio à visée formative, dans lequel on inclut la question de l'apprentissage et de l'auto-évaluation et de l'appropriation du parcours d'apprentissage et la partie évaluation qui revient à l'enseignant.
Merci. There is some evaluation. There is some evaluation that is needed to put it on the course. For example, the portfolio. If the student have passed the final exam but not well done, I can take some degree of this portfolio, or this must be written in the curriculum and in the course that there is some degree in the portfolio.
Le portfolio fait partie de l'évaluation. Si dans l'évaluation, le portfolio démontre que l'étudiant n'a pas atteint le niveau requis dans la compétence ou n'a pas couvert l'ensemble des compétences, alors il ne peut pas poursuivre la totalité de l'enseignement, puisqu'il va falloir qu'il acquiert ce qui lui manque dans la compétence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor France. And for giving...
Excusez-moi, est-ce que je peux poser une question au docteur Bilal?
Welcome, welcome.
Absolument,
oui.
Absolument, bien sûr. Allez-y.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Oui, je voulais savoir quelles sont les relations entre les enseignants et les étudiants dans le Learning Labs?
Une question très importante. C'est parfois difficile de jouer le jeu. Je voudrais dire, en fait, de la part des deux, en fait, que l'étudiant ose proposer certaines idées, ou par exemple critiquer des pratiques actuelles, par exemple, alors qui sont parfois dans les mêmes cours avec ces profs-là. Et parfois, c'est difficile pour les profs d'accepter ces critiques, malheureusement, hein, mais je crois que ça doit venir de la part des professeurs, en fait, d'accepter certaines critiques ou de, par exemple, d'accepter certaines idées un peu joyful, un peu ludique, un peu voilà, et de les prendre au sérieux et d'interagir en fait avec une bonne volonté vraiment de changer, d'améliorer, de prendre en considération les opinions des étudiants. Donc, je suis d'accord, c'est parfois difficile, et c'est là où il faut vraiment jouer et mettre les bons settings, en fait, la bonne ambiance pour que ça prend effet.
Alors, je pourrais dire que le Learning Labs est peut-être finalement aussi pourrait être intégré dans le portfolio. Ce qui se fait pourrait être intégré dans le portfolio et pourrait permettre aussi aux enseignants de développer les compétences attendues et développées par les étudiants. Et deuxièmement, le Learning Labs me semble être un outil extrêmement important pour soutenir les étudiants dans leur démarche d'innovation et d'entrepreneuriat.
Oui, effectivement, en fait, en parlant, je vais rebondir sur le dernier mot entrepreneuriat. Si on trace les racines jusqu'au parler d'innovation pédagogique, bien sûr, ça prendra plein d'aspects, donc l'innovation technique, l'innovation sociale, l'innovation managériale, organisationnelle, et là, il faut vraiment faire la liaison avec le marché de travail, par exemple, travailler sur les compétences voulues, même l'innovation de curriculum, en fait, de comment concevoir les curriculums, etc. Donc là, il faut bien intégrer absolument les compétences entrepreneuriales, etc. Pour la première partie, concernant en fait, oui, c'est effectivement c'est un lieu pour favoriser ce genre d'échange. Donc c'est pour rendre ces échanges plus acceptables, plus c'est pour prendre l'initiative, pour les inciter, pour les encourager, pour aller, pour faire ce pas en fait.
Et alors, j'ai encore une dernière question. Est-ce
Oui.
qu'il y a davantage de relations? Est-ce que ça favorise le travail en équipe pour les enseignants?
Oui, absolument, absolument. Oui, oui. C'est quand on a par exemple je vous rassure, quand j'animais par exemple des workshops un peu formels pour par exemple l'utilisation de la technologie de l'information en enseignement, même avant le Covid-19, j'avais surtout avec par exemple les collègues venant de la faculté en fait des lettres et humanités, en fait souvent des commentaires, ils étaient un peu réticents sur certains aspects. Par exemple, je me rappelle les collègues qui font de l'audiovisuel ou qui enseignent le théâtre ou certains concepts qui demandent en fait, ou la philosophie qui demandent beaucoup d'interaction, qui demandent une présence physique face à face en présentiel. Ils étaient souvent réticents sur ce genre de choses. Et en animant des ateliers en groupe, là où plusieurs experts de différents backgrounds, en fait, ils interagissent ensemble. Les idées, les propositions émergent beaucoup plus facilement, des solutions à des problèmes qui paraissent, par exemple, autrefois complètement inapprochables ou difficiles pour certains profs, se trouvaient facilement déjà résolus par d'autres. Donc, j'imagine ça a mutualisé les expertises et ça a permis un débat très très enrichissant pour tout le monde. Donc, je crois que le prof d'informatique d'un côté tout seul et d'être il oublie parfois certains aspects humains. Le prof en lettres et humanité, il oublie parfois que la technologie pourra apporter certains outils qui en bénéficient. C'est juste pour donner ce genre d'exemple. Donc, en voyant tout le monde interagir ensemble et proposer des solutions, aller jouer le rôle, présenter une façon d'expliquer une partie de cours, etc. Ça a aidé tout le monde à mutualiser ses expériences et avoir un lieu pour ça, un nom pour ce lieu, des activités déjà planifiées fréquemment. C'est vraiment, ça incite tout le monde à s'y engager. Et donc, je confirme, oui.
Merci. Merci for two and for giving a summary about the three sessions. We can say that Professor Ali Hamia have give us some the components of quality standards in learning, in distance learning, and we have to improve the qualification of some staffs in using the new tools. And we can't forget the infrastructures as, for example, the internet, and what is the problem with the students sometimes with the internet. And we have to put in our consideration the labor market needs. And if we have to compare the evaluation of the students between the fall semester before COVID and the fall semester after COVID, to compare the results of the students between before using the tools of face-to-face and after COVID using distance learning. And we have to evaluate the graduates that they passed these tools of distance learning. It's important. Concerning the lecture of Professor France, we have the definition of e-portfolio, and she told us about the competency-based education. And I know that in Egypt now the national academic reference standards are for the medicine, pharmacy, nurses, dentistry, engineering was now as competency-based educations. So the definition of e-portfolio is very important for us. If we adopt like these national academic reference standards, we have to take in consideration the e-portfolio. Professor Bilal defined for us the learning lab and how to design and implement. And we can say that what's next is to cooperate all of us as academic institutions and to go forward and to take our students to the levels that the labor market needed. And thank you for you all and for your participations, speakers and attendees. Thank you.
Thank you too, Mrs. Nurhan. Thank you, Ghada, for this lovely opportunity. Merci Françoise pour toutes ces questions et pour la très jolie présentation en fait. Very insightful. Thank you.
It's a very pleasant, even je parle dans toutes les langues. Even seeing you over internet is very pleasant. Hopefully we can meet soon. I would like to thank very much Professor Fanaki for being among us today and for presiding this session. It was really pleasant. And actually, thank God we are always on time.